Hello, Cardinal Adventure birds.
Hello.
So, today we have some news. If you cannot guess from the title of the stream, we'll no longer be streaming Pathfinder Kingmaker. The reason for that is that I'll go ahead and speak for myself. I won't speak for Terry, but they're essentially, the game is not, the pacing was very deceptive for me at the beginning. It seemed like it was gonna be very narratively driven and not fast paced, but paced, like at least a decent pace. There wasn't gonna be much to how I put this, not to be handheld by any means, but the story was going to drive itself. And at least this is in my experience, at least, it just feels very like I'm all for playing. I've played MMOs most of my life, most of my gaming life. It's not about length of time. In terms of like, I will put in time if I'm enjoying myself, but if I'm not enjoying myself, I'm not going to put in the time, and that's essentially what I've come to. I just really don't enjoy how they've chosen to pace the game. It feels very grindy, and that's saying something coming from someone who plays Black Desert Online. So I'll let Terry give her 2 cents as well. Go ahead.
I really wanted to like this game. I really did. And I got bored. It just seemed like all we were doing was fighting spiders and centipedes. And there wasn't really not enough story for me, I guess. And it just didn't keep my interest. And I love that we spend time together, playing the game together, but I guess I'd rather do something else. So, I don't know, that's all I really have to say. Yeah.
All right, so another video that, there was a video that I came across a few days ago that I think really paints a really clear picture of how both of us feel. And it's something that I think a lot of gamers from a video game standpoint really should take heed of. If you don't know who Josh Hayes is, this is his, Josh Strife Hayes. He's a YouTuber, and he does a really good content analysis of single player, like popular video games, essentially more on the MMO side, but games where people invest a lot of time. And there is this really wonderful video. It was called "It Gets Better After 100 Hours," which essentially is what we literally just ran into with Pathfinder Kingmaker, where a lot of people will say, "Oh well, it just gets better after X." It gets better after you do this. It gets better after you do this. Look, man, I work full time. I GM. I spend time with the wife. Now that I have a gun, I go shooting. I gotta clean my guns, and I take my time when I do that. And there's not no wishy-washy shit. Well, all I'm saying is, if you do your research, most people are playing video games less than 2 hours a day, right? So, and most gamers are pretty much my demographic, mid-age 30, or I'm not mid-age yet or mid-30 yet, but I'm close. And most gamers are the mass consumer of, or the mass purchasers of video games are over the age of 34, 35, and usually have children, right? So just keep that in perspective. I'm sure I'm going to get comments, "Oh, it's just this, that." That's fine. That's your opinion, and you're allowed to have that, and I'm allowed to have mine, and Terry's allowed to have hers. We don't want to play a game that feels like a freaking drag, and we're not going to. And like, look, if it gets great later, that's great, but I'm not gonna drag my feet along the entire time. And some you can say in the comments section, oh well, you should have gone this way instead of that way. I went the way that I thought I felt was right, and it led me in circles and circles. And again, like some of the design is not intuitive in the game. And as a player who has put in well over 10 hours into the game, that's a tenth of the 100 hour mark, whatever. I haven't even begun to experience the key aspect of Kingmaker, which is kingdom building.
Yeah.
Why would you design Kingmaker and not have and this is where I agree with one of my players, Paul. Always talks about how much he hates level 1 in adventure paths, right? But for me, I completely disagree. In an adventure path where there's an end, and in a tabletop role playing, which is completely different, which is much different than video games, and you can obviously you can have your argument there about that, but it's the whole point of, and you could say, oh well, it's the same. The point you're about to make, Liam, is it's the same thing in Pathfinder Kingmaker. In tabletop role-playing games, it's about humble beginnings and seeing your own progression. And yes, you could say, oh well, it's the same thing in Pathfinder Kingmaker, the video game. You just didn't give it its chance. Look, man, if I wanted to be a fucking Kingmaker and I wanted to do kingdom building, it shouldn't. How I put this? In a video game, you're allowed to jump to the cool part. This isn't a tabletop game. You're allowed to do that, and no one would get upset at you. Nobody. I'm not saying you have to immediately give me that, but it's like, look, introduce the game to me, introduce the setting, introduce the characters that I need to know about, and say, let's start building a kingdom. That's what Pathfinder Kingmaker was known for. Yes, hexploration was important, but again, let me have that hexploration through ruling my kingdom like you do later anyway. Don't make me, because I already tabletop roleplay game, which is plenty of my time, and as a GM, I put plenty of time during the week just to give a really good, maybe if I was a player, like a Pathfinder player, I might give it some more, but it's just like, I probably wouldn't anyway. It's just not engaging. Like, again, if to me too, as someone who loves Pathfinder, this was not an easy decision to make but again, when I'm in a cave and I can't go more than literally 15 seconds without running into another centipede, spider, dumb shit, right? Look, that's not how I want to spend my time. And I'm on easy mode, easy-ish mode, right? I'm not on the easiest mode, but if I was on a harder mode, it would only take longer and longer. I'd have to spend more potions, more resources. I'd have to farm more shit out because the game's harder. I've talked to people who've played the game on a harder difficulty, and they're like, oh yeah, it's way more difficult, taking way more time. If it took more time than it does for me to get out of I'm not even level 5, I'm 10 hours into the game. It's a video game, bro. Yes, it's supposed to simulate. I understand it's supposed to simulate a low-level experience. But all I'm saying is, if you want to get... Okay, look. The new player experience is extremely important, right? It's extremely important. And if the new player experience is, oh man, I guess I'm still here in this cave, or whatever. Again, I'm not going to look up a guide. I shouldn't have to look up a guide. A game should be able to tell, especially, it's 2021. I shouldn't have to look up a guide to play your game. I shouldn't, especially a single player game. That'd be embarrassing. And so, oh well, you should have just looked up what to do or whatever. Oh, or maybe it was your character. No. It's the fucking game. The game sucks in terms of not in its entirety. It's just Like, look, man, this 2021, people only have, and not even just because it's 2021, people have limited time to do certain things. Like, I wish I could play video games for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Excuse me. I can't, and I won't. Now, obviously, you can say, oh, well, Liam, you said you played Black Desert earlier. Yeah, I play Black Desert like 2 days a week, dude.
Yeah, that's about it.
2 days a week. One's a weekday, one's a weekend day. Yeah, so eat my ass. If that's your response, you can actually eat my ass. So, but for real though, it's not there in terms of the feel and the pace. I think the game would have been a lot better had you just come out the gate learning or being in a position where you inherited a kingdom.
Yeah, or at least have the ability to skip to that.
Yeah, or that.
If you wanted to
Say,
play all
hey,
that
hey,
stuff.
do you wanna
Yeah.
go in caves for the next 3 hours, or I'm sorry, 25 hours, or would you like to build a kingdom? Oh, fuck that! I'm gonna build a kingdom.
Right? Because I still don't even know what that means. I mean, personally, I don't know
And-
how
and that's-
to do a
and
game
it-
of building a kingdom.
And it's what breaks my heart,
Yeah.
because the kingdom building system in first edition is what made Kingmaker what it is. It made it revolutionary. It was revolutionary for its time. It was huge. Nothing like it had ever been done before, and nothing, honestly, has ever been done like it since. And I very, very much look forward to Alcat releasing, or not Alcat, but it might be Alcat. I can't remember the actual company who's remaking the book into 2nd edition Pathfinder and 5th edition D&D, because it's even been requested so much by D&D players that they're making a 5th edition version for it as well. And it's the whole kingdom building system. I'm 10 hours into the game, and I still don't even know what that looks like. I don't even have a hint of what it looks like, right? I don't know, and I really don't give a shit to know. I don't care if it comes in the next hour. I really don't. It won't. But what I'm saying is, look, man, it's okay to skip to level 5 or make it available for people that want that. Make it available. I don't even care if it costs me $10, because the game, I think, is 30 or 40 bucks. I don't care if it costs me, $10, because again, I'm willing to pay, or I'm willing to skip that bullshit to get to the content I want to see. I want to feel, I want to experience the king-making experience. I don't want to experience centipedes and fucking spiders.
Me either.
I'm good. Thanks, though.
Maybe the
Right?
game will hear these
Who?
comments.
Who? Owlcat Games?
Maybe they'll take that into
Look, man,
consideration.
I hope so.
Because-
I really hope so.
Yeah, 'cause,
Look,
like, because of this game, I would never want to play it again. Because it moved too slow. It just it's boring.
I understand, pacing was faster than it would take at an actual, the
At
moving
first it
section.
seemed
The
okay.
again, and that's what tilted me the most was at the beginning.
Yeah.
The pace and the narrative
Yeah.
drive was awesome.
It was.
And you even got to the first little town real
Yeah,
soon.
yeah, I love
and it was
that.
like, this is cool.
Mhm.
And then they're like, go get a thing. See you later. I'm like, what? What? This is it? No. Again, why do you think Uncharted did as well as it did? Because it's a game that makes you feel like a fucking badass. Even though the game holds your hand to tell you a story the entire time, it's just an interactive story, right? Imagine, if all things outside of the kingdom building and the combat were handled in a way like Uncharted. And what I mean by that is the story drives itself. The story, you get to make decisions in the story, and then you move on. Because I will put this out there, and I'll end on this, just because I could rant on this for another half an hour if I wanted to. If you had the option to or how should I put this? If you really think about how pacing works, and this is why I've really come to love the pacing of it, or of running adventure paths and prepared content in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Because if I look at my first campaign that I ran that was homebrew, because granted, only the playtest rules were out at the time, and so I only had what I had. But the length of time it took me to get them from 1 to 14, to 12, in comparison to what took 1 to 15, or 15 after this next session in Age of Ashes, should they live. Sorry. No, it's a boss encounter. But spoilers. Well, you have to watch the recent one because it's being uploaded right now, bitch. So with that, having a healthy pace has completely changed my experience with tabletop role-playing. Because I used to never think, I used to think, man, because again, no one finishes a 1 through 20. No one finishes that. That's crazy, right? Because again, if people are in this thing, literally comment or send me a DM in Discord, come to my Discord. If you were to go into a tabletop gaming store, no matter what game they're playing, Starfinder, D&D, any version, or Pathfinder, any version, and you were to say, who here has finished a game from level 1 to level 20? You might see 8% raise their hand. And that's a problem. And that's why the pacing of adventure paths, and not only that, the people that do raise their hand most likely did it through pre-written content. Because the shit moves. It has purpose. And you have to have suspense of disbelief because it's like watching a movie. Right? Suspense of disbelief. You just have to say, oh, well, we need to figure out how to make it work. Not like, oh, well, that wouldn't work because my character wouldn't really do that. No, you got to get over that shit. Right? Because that doesn't get anybody anywhere. You know, it's a movie. We already have suspense of disbelief in a lot of the media we consume. Tabletop gaming should be no fucking different. Should be no different. So, what that all comes back to is that's where Kingmakers failed, in my opinion. The pacing, fucking weak sauce. Not the, again, who, if I were, so my point being, if I were to take this game and go across the hallway to my neighbor who's never heard of Pathfinder, who's never played Pathfinder, who's never played a tabletop role-playing game, and I were to take it to her who's in her early 30s or late 20s, and I were to show her to her daughter who is probably less than 12 years old, and I were to say, hey, I want you to sit down, I will pay you $100 to play 20 hours of this game. 4 days, we could do this in installations of you sitting down for 2 hours or 3 hours at a time, and I'll pay you money to play this game. I still guarantee they would not be enthused 20 hours in. There we go. So is this all we do? We just go in places and we just fight stuff? Is that all we do? And again, because for me, I felt like I was deceived. They had this amazing setup with this funny, voice acted bard who was like, we're going to tell your story. And it was like, cool, I can't wait. This is going to be fun. She has quirky little lines. Yeah. Applause, please. I was like, I love her. Yeah. And, and a lot of the other characters, you got Miri, iconic Amiri, yeah. and others. It was just like, so again, why did it all of a sudden just deflate? There was no reason for it to deflate, but it just deflated. You know, it didn't. There was no need for it to, but it did. And so again, that's without sounding like a broken record. That is why I and Terry are no longer going to play Kingmaker. And again, I am more than happy to answer questions or have arguments, debates, discussions on why I'm wrong. You know, I'm more than happy to talk about why you know, or if you think I'm wrong, or you know, having a discussion about it, or you know, telling me to see it from a different perspective. I'm more than happy to listen to that.
Maybe we're missing something.
Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a big green arrow on my map I didn't see that I need to follow. You know, let me know. Let me know. More than happy to listen to feedback. But again, that's where I'm going to keep it. You have anything else to close up with?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, though, to all of you that watched us, you know, go through this journey, even though it didn't get to the end. But, you know, you got to see what we did, and we appreciate that. We appreciate that you follow the Kingmaker journey, that you follow, you know, Carnival Adventurers, and just we appreciate you being supportive in our endeavors. And I hope that, you know, you continue to do so, because we have some fun, interesting things coming up too. So.
Yep. Can I tell them about
okay,
so for those remember was it the Calistria video? The Calistria video, I mentioned with enough comments that I would make Foundry VTT driven content. We've gotten close enough. And it resurged recently with a few comments saying Foundry VTT stuff, please. So it's gonna happen. I'm gonna go ahead and get started, not today, but I'll be getting started on making Foundry VTT content, and that will be my new live content. So the content's still coming live. I'll probably be doing that on Mondays like I'm doing today. So the new thing is gonna be the Foundry VTT stuff. So yay!
You're the first to know.
And you're the first to
Video,
know. Very
so
up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not giving up on us.
Yeah.
We're still gonna be putting us.
Yeah, I'm putting out content. Just because I'm tilted at Kingmaker doesn't mean I'm tilted at you.
No.
So, and I'm not at all. I'm still very thankful for all you viewers out there. I had to vent about Kingmaker because it made me feel it upset me very much. So, with that, we'll see you all in the next one.
Bye.
Take it easy.